Hi, my name is Ryan Klataske, and I want to thank you for watching this presentation. I'm going to share with you why I think an anthropological perspective and ethnographic approach are useful tools for studying agriculture, and how my research partner, Casper Bendixen, and I are applying these tools to ongoing efforts to improve the safety and health of cattle feedyard workers. When we think about anthropologists, many of us imagine lone researchers living with exotic and culturally distinct people in far-flung corners of the globe. The popular 2020 book, Gods of the Upper Air, tells the story of some of the first anthropologists who popularized this idea, including Franz Boas and Margaret Mead. In the late 1800s, for example, Boas spent years living with and studying indigenous people on Baffin Island and in the Pacific Northwest. Mead, of course, is famous for her controversial studies of sexuality and gender in Samoa. My own long-term ethnographic research on ranching and wildlife conservation took place in Namibia, a relatively sparsely populated country in southern Africa. While anthropology, the study of all humans in all times and all places, continues to emphasize immersive fieldwork in different cultural contexts around the world, it's also become a useful toolkit for studying people and solving problems in our own society, including various business, industry, and organizational settings. The research I want to report on in this presentation aims to do exactly that, to help solve a problem, offer new insights, and engage with efforts to bring about change. In our case, the goal is to contribute to a multidisciplinary team at the Central State Center for Agricultural Safety and Health, also known as ISASH, working to improve the safety and health of feedyard workers. Our anthropological perspective and ethnographic approach help to provide a holistic understanding of the problem and people involved, a better grasp of insider perspectives and experiences, as well as the context and cultural dimensions of various issues. We believe that this toolkit, no longer just for studying exotic others, offers real value for organizations and multidisciplinary research teams working on agricultural safety and health by contributing to a richer understanding of the human dimensions of problems in the lives of those involved. The same methods used in remote African villages apply to feedyards, factories, and farms as well. Cattle feedyards, or feedlots, are prominent features of our global agricultural system, contributing to the billions of pounds of beef produced each year in the US and elsewhere around the world. These animal feeding operations are designed to quickly and efficiently put weight on cattle by providing them with high-quality feed prior to slaughter. And each feedyard contains thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, head of cattle. Feedyards provide jobs and shape rural landscapes, economies, and social fabrics in significant ways, along with the health and well-being of workers. While most people likely seldom consider the human labor involved in bringing their marbled steaks to their mouths, feedyards rely on thousands of workers performing what are often dirty, dangerous, and demanding jobs. Many of these workers are migrants, immigrants, refugees, and local rural folks whose lives are shaped by similar structural forces and precarious circumstances. What are their stories? What are their experiences and opinions about working on feedyards? What kinds of risks and hazards do they face, and how might their jobs become safer? These are the kinds of questions that an anthropological perspective and ethnographic approach help to address. Feedyards are also high-risk work environments with relatively high rates of injuries, accidents, and illnesses. This not only poses a threat to workers' lives and bodies, but also contributes to the various challenges confronting feedyard operators and managers, including high turnover, difficult recruitment, and rising costs. Despite these challenges and hazards, feedyards appear to provide workers with minimal safety training, and many provide none at all, and this is supported by previous research as well. Many workers arrive without experience on feedyards, and some of them lack experience, skills, or training with cattle, horses, and machinery. Athena Ramos, part of the team at ISASH, estimates that 50% of the workforce on feedyards are immigrants, although this number may even be higher. A considerable proportion of these immigrant and migrant workers, especially those from Latin America, speak limited English, and some indigenous workers speak limited Spanish as well, adding to the challenge of safety training and communication. As someone who lived with and studied white Africans in Namibia, It was also surprising for me to learn that there are many white Afrikaans-speaking South Africans who end up working on feed yards, often fleeing the threat of rural violence in their home country. One of our current goals is to better understand the cultural, ethnic, and linguistic diversity of feed yard workers and how this diversity relates to safety and the potential for safety training. So, to address the problem of worker safety, along with the willingness among managers to incorporate new strategies to improve safety and reshape organizational culture, ISASH is developing a comprehensive module-based training program called Feedyard 15. This voluntary program involves detailed training modules intended for monthly use and implementation by Feedyard staff, along with accommodation for completion of training sessions. The program focuses on 15 of the top hazards on feed yards, which you can see here. I encourage you to learn more about ISASH and Feedyard 15 by visiting their website. As part of this team, my colleague Cap and I conducted rapid, multi-sided ethnographic research with feed yard workers and other stakeholders in Nebraska, with the aim of generating insights and hypotheses that contribute to the design, implementation, and evaluation of the program. Our ongoing research complements the team's quantitative research and data by providing thick descriptions of feed yards, stakeholder narratives, social and cultural context, as well as an assessment of the problem, need, and program in practice. An anthropological approach, the hallmark methodology of cultural anthropology, involves observing, participating in, and asking questions about the everyday lives of, quote, natives and their, quote, natural habitat. In other words, our objective is to observe and participate in ordinary workdays and listen to the perspectives and stories of workers, managers, operators, and other stakeholders. During our field work, which was unfortunately stalled by the onset of COVID, we visited 10 feed yards in rural Nebraska for 1 to 2 days each. We interviewed and interacted with a wide range of individuals, including workers, managers, and workers' compensation experts, observing and sometimes taking part in their work. We also participated in a workshop, meetings, and conversations with various stakeholders and individuals involved in the cattle industry. Our research focused on multiple areas of feed yard operations. Most feed yards include a network of cattle pens and alleys, a feed mill, silage piles, processing and doctoring facilities, a machine shop, and an office, among other components. Each operation, therefore, involves a variety of different jobs, each with different risks and hazards. Some workers specialize or spend much of their time in one area, for example, as feed truck drivers or cowboys, while some workers, especially on smaller feed yards, tend to work in multiple areas as needed. Consequently, our field work focused on observing a spectrum of jobs, experiencing a variety of situations, and listening to a diversity of voices. We not only spent time talking with managers, but took part in a safety meeting, rode along with a feed truck driver and loader operator, assisted a processing crew, sorted cattle with cowboys, as well as observed, interviewed, and followed along with workers in a wide variety of other tasks. Both of us have personal and professional backgrounds related to ranching and agriculture, and our rural heritage and experiences have helped us build trust and rapport and enhance our research in significant ways. One of the points I want to make is that ethnographers use a variety of methods and techniques, but it often boils down to asking questions while observing and participating in ordinary situations and the everyday lives of the people we're studying. I'm interested to know how you think this approach might apply to your work and what kinds of insights might emerge. Here are 6 key insights that emerged from our research. First, our research validated both the problem and need for Feedyard 15, documenting the fact that feed yard workers experience difficult conditions and a variety of risks to their safety and health. Many of these workers are hardworking, gritty, and adapt to their often dirty, dangerous, and demanding jobs. I think of the Mexican feed truck driver I rode along with, who works 12 to 13-hour days, 7 days per week, with 1 day off every other week, and the young Salvadorian driver who described the oppressive dust, heat, and stress of the job. He teared up when I asked him what needed to change to improve his job and make it safer, responding, quote, everything is difficult, and everything could be improved, unquote. I also think of the young cowboy whose horse spooked, throwing him to the hard, cold ground, leaving him bloodied and unconscious, as well as the many stories of injuries, accidents, and near misses we heard. Second, our findings suggest that feed yards currently implement minimal safety training, but workers, managers, and operators express a willingness and or desire for new safety training materials and resources. This, of course, validates the need and opportunity for Feedyard 15, as well as the results of previous research. Third, in the absence of robust safety training, we discovered that some workers have self-organized systems for managing risk and fostering safety. Two systems we observed in action include a cowboy as teacher, apprentice-based system, and an experience-based rotational system for processing cattle that is organized and enforced by the workers themselves, allowing the crew to minimize risk to newer workers as they learn the process and hazards of the job. Fourth, some managers have also taken measures to reduce injuries and shape the safety culture of feed yards. One manager, for example, is working to change the, quote, cowboy mentality and the use of horses among workers, and others have experimented with various other mechanisms for communication. One of our current research questions is how managers understand and act on this concept of safety culture. Fifth, we also learned that one of the key concerns of both managers and workers related to safety and health is a shortage of skilled local labor with agricultural backgrounds, experience, work ethic, and common sense. This highlights the importance of listening to and taking seriously the perspectives of those involved and their understandings of the challenges they face. Finally, we discovered that feed yards are seen by some workers as, quote, the last place to be a cowboy. And for some migrants, immigrants, and rural people, the best place to improve their lives and future for their families, at least momentarily. This gets to big questions about identity, motivations, and even broader structural forces that constrain choice and impact decision-making. All of these findings validate the risk involved in these dirty, dangerous, and demanding jobs and confirm the need and opportunity for voluntary safety training that takes into consideration the desires, experiences, and context of workers themselves. Ultimately, we conclude, and we have concluded, that Feedyard 15 has the potential to meet the needs of managers and improve the safety and health of workers. So to wrap up this presentation, I want to argue, even though it might be something we all agree on, that solving problems related to agricultural safety and health requires us to understand the human dimensions of these problems and to listen closely to the voices of workers, producers, consumers, and the people impacted by or in need of our programs and policies. Years ago, anthropologists like Franz Boas and Margaret Mead pioneered methods and perspectives for studying human behavior, needs, and culture. At a time when we, as a species, are trying to figure out how to feed and nourish the world's population in ways that sustain our environment, our economies, our livelihoods, and our respect for each other, an anthropological perspective and ethnographic approach are more vital than ever. Here are 3 benefits of incorporating and applying this time-tested toolkit to your study or effort to bring about change. First, it helps to provide a more holistic understanding of a problem or group of people. In our study of feed yard workers, for example, this means not only understanding their lives while on the clock, but also thinking deeply about how their safety at work is shaped by their social interactions, the organizational culture in which they work, the broader circumstances of their lives, and even questions about identity, values, and things like, what does it mean to be a cowboy? Second, it provides a means for hearing insider perspectives and better understanding the so-called native point of view, as well as observing and participating in their ordinary lives and work. Finally, an anthropological perspective and ethnographic approach help us not only focus on individual stories and the fine-grained human dimensions of a problem or situation, but also to zoom out to consider the wider socioeconomic and cultural context. In our research, this means drawing attention to the precarity or precariousness of workers' lives and the structural forces that shape them, as well as the social and cultural dimensions of Feedyards themselves. If you would like to discuss how you or your group might benefit from these kinds of insights and this perspective and approach, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me or Casper. I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you very much.